And I know I put myself first, and I put my family second. And I said, I don't want to miss the bus. I don't want to, I don't want to take the road which everybody is taking. I want to do something totally different. And it's okay. If I'm going to face obstacles, I have the firepower within me to overcome these obstacles.
This is episode number 2 of the Midlife Station podcast with Milind Jadhav. Welcome all. This is Rupesh Nahar, your host for the Midlife Station. Dear friends, I am super pumped up to interview our today's guest, Milind Jadhav. Milind is one of the most sought after life coach in India who has been in coaching business since 2012, when life coaching was at a very nascent stage. He has coached hundreds of people across various continents and has more than 9,500 hours of coaching under his belt. Milind is an IIM Bangalore alumni who had enjoyed a very high profile corporate career, very contributed in building of brands like Godrej, Taj Mahal Tea, Brill, amongst others. However, during his midlife, Milind faced lowest point in his life. He had no job, got severely addicted to alcohol, and had more than 25 lakhs of financial debt. However, all these problems were not enough to bow him down. He fought against all the odds, took control of his life in his own hands, and rose to a level where today he is one of the most sought after life coaches in India. In this episode, we talk to Milind about the key ingredients for success in corporate life. How did he land up in huge financial debt? Story behind his rise from the darkest point in his life, and case in point of a person who is struggling in the midlife. Before we jump in, I would request you to please do subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss on any of our future episodes. Now, without much further ado, let me welcome our guest for today, Milind Jadhav. Hi Milind, I'm quite pumped up and excited to have you on the show today. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Sure, Rupesh. Great to hear your voice. I'm excited as well. Yes, tell me, Rupesh.
Wonderful, Milind. So, Milind, I wanted to start with a blog post which I came across where you had mentioned something about a goal framework called Be, Do, Have.
Okay.
And till now, whatever framework I was aware of was what we call SMART, which is be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound with your goals.
Okay.
So I wanted to understand more about this. Can you share some of your thoughts here?
So, Rupesh, when we say be, do, have, okay, it's first of all, it's there in a sequence, right? It's be, do, have. It's not the other way around. It's be means who is Rupesh, who is Milind. It's about who you are as a person. That's what we are referring to over here. Being. Then comes the doing part, which is action. So, when we say, I want to wake up at 5 o'clock, or I want to go to the gym, okay, or I want to be productive, or I want to take, this kind of an effort or that kind of an effort. So, that is the doing part. And finally, the having part, which is, what do I want to have in life? To have a 3 BHK flat in 5 years, or I want to have such and such a kind of a bank balance after so many years, or I want to have 10 kgs less. So the sequence of life, the sequence in which life really happens is first comes the being, then comes the doing, then comes the having. Okay, that's the model of life. The thing to be remembered here is that if we don't follow this, okay, and if we don't pay attention to the being part, then the other two really, they won't work out, okay. If you see the traditional way of goal setting, like you said, the SMART model or any of the other models, when we say, let's put goals, okay, I want to have, like I give you the example, I want to have I want to have my own 3 BHK flat after 5 years. That's only the have goal. That's not taking into account the other two, the other two parts, which is the do part or the be part. So we are so overtly obsessed with the having part we don't really focus so much on what kind of action goals we need to have. More importantly, what kind of being goals we need to keep for ourselves. So often when I coach people, Rupesh, I focus less on what do you want to have, focus more on who do you want to become in about 90 days from now, in about 120 days from now. It's like suppose I were to coach you, I'd ask you in about 6 months from now, what kind of Rupesh do you want to invent? Right? That's more important because once you invent a certain kind of a Rupesh for yourself, then the doing part will automatically take care of itself. And then the having part, okay, what you want to have will fall in place. So that's how it works, Rupesh. Right? It's a very powerful model when you work it that way. Be to have.
Your point makes sense because I've read many times that if you want to do something, you first visualize, have a vision. Unless you have a vision, then you won't act in that manner.
True.
So I think it's very, very powerful framework to the way we put on our goals. So I thanks a lot, Milind, for sharing it. I wanted to know about your corporate life. See, you did MBA in sales and marketing.
Yes.
Did you naturally have a flair in sales and marketing? Were you a person, you had that kind of persona? And that's what helped you to grow in your career and rose to that levels? Or what were the key ingredients which you feel made it possible to have growth in your career?
Okay. So when I did a specialization in marketing, okay, in IIM Bangalore, that time it was just my attraction to the whole concept of sales and marketing. It's like, wow, this is interesting. Okay, this is all about people and consumers and products and brands. That's what attracted. It was about about people and brands. It was not about hey whether I can do it. I I didn't even know whether I could do it, but I just said it seems exciting, so let's do it. And then so happened that I actually never actually got into a sales and marketing career directly. I got into the ad industry, which is a subset of the marketing industry. So almost 13 years I was in the ad industry, and within advertising, in a way it was a marketing job. Okay, the only difference was I was not marketing products or services, I was marketing ideas. So in an ad agency, what you do is there's a creative team which churns out ad campaigns. So these are the good old days in the 90s when ad campaigns we used to work out print campaigns, magazines ads, newspaper ads, television ads. Those days, Star TV, ZTV, these are big things. Okay, so I was part of the team which used to take the ad campaign to the marketing department of a particular company, an account we were dealing with, and then we used to sell those ideas. Okay? And we used to work closely with these marketing teams. So it was, if you ask me what was in me that helped me kind of hang on there for about a decade or so, it was just my love for consumers and the world of, see, it was all about people. Okay, it was not about machines. Like for example, you say IT, it's about coding and software, my understanding. Okay, programming. If you say engineering, it's about, let's say, mechanical engineering is about machines and technical stuff. But advertising and marketing, it's all about people, and that really inspired me. Today also, I'm a life coach, and it's all about people. But even back then, it was all about people, and that's what really. Even back then, I had that love for people, and how can I connect with people? How can I be part of a team which can communicate with people and influence people and get them to buy my clients' products? That's what my entire journey was in the first part of my career.
So, what I think you doing something which you loved actually enabled you to move ahead in the career.
Yes.
Because typically, if I look at people today, there are many people who are stuck in their career, are not growing.
Yeah.
So, what would be few things which you want to highlight here, which can help them in deciding or introspecting at their end, and how they can move forward? How can they reignite that passion and grow from there. So what would your thoughts be on that?
This is a question I kind of grapple with almost every week, not every day, but every week when I coach people. So many people I come across who are struggling in their careers, who don't enjoy their jobs, okay, and then what should I do next in my career? And if I were to really distill, I mean, these things take time to kind of really dwell on and discuss. But if I were to distill this into just maybe one or two things, here's what I would say. You've finally got to ask yourself, why are you in this particular career? For example, if you're in IT and you say, I don't enjoy IT, why are you in IT in the first place? Are you in IT because your parents are, pushed you into that? Or you think your parents pushed you into that? Are you in IT because the money is big? Or are you in IT because, it's a very glamorous thing to be in? Or because your friends told you to be there? Finally, you got to ask yourself, you got to tell yourself that, hey, you got one short life, 70, 80 years, you got to make it worthwhile. What's the point in being in any kind of a career which you don't find fulfilling? So we just, sometimes it's just peer pressure. We just drift along and we land up in a particular career, and it's okay. It happens to many of us. But it's time to course correct, right? If you don't enjoy a particular thing, it's absolutely okay to walk out and explore something else. And there are millions of opportunities. Millions. I mean, millions is probably a too small a word. It will be the understatement of the century. I mean, I usually say, if you don't have a job, you can invent one today. I literally invented this profession, at least in India, 2012, when I got into life coaching. I don't know whether anybody else was doing. I couldn't, other than maybe 2-3 people who were just got into life coaching. There was nobody else. And especially telephonic life coaching, nobody, right? So the way I did it, you can literally invent. This is the age of Facebook, Google, YouTube, TikTok. I mean, I know people who are making money on TikTok. So you can do anything you want today. I know people who are conducting, online classes and making money. You can sit at home. There are people who are making money in the middle of a lockdown, right? So you got to finally ask yourself, are you just drifting along, and are you just being part of a herd mentality? Are you worried about what people will think of you if you fail? What are you unwilling to do? So one big question you got to ask. I'm saying a lot of things here, okay? Any of these things could trigger a thought. In coaching, I do a lot of straight talk, and I do ask these questions when I coach people. What are you unwilling to do? I have, in my journey, okay, of self-employment, I've even sold watermelons when I was in my struggling days. Right? I've organic watermelons as part of some project because I needed money, I wanted to just assist a friend. He said, I'll give you some extra pocket money if you help me sell it. I said, so you got to ask yourself, right? So to discover your passion, you really have to, first of all, you need to be willing to let go of what you have.
Right, I think makes sense, Milind. And I would like to come to this topic again at the later part of discussion. I just wanted to tie it back to your career. So when you were growing and when you were in your corporate career, how was your lifestyle? When I say lifestyle, since you were growing, you had good income coming in. But how are you managing your financial life when it comes to money management? Because there's a lot of peer pressure sometimes where you have to have cars, you want to have houses and other aspects. So was it like you were earning a lot but also expenditure was a lot? Were there any debt related issues? Do you want to share some of the challenges on those lines which you had when you were in the corporate career?
In fact, that was the highlight of my corporate career. So I started with a salary of, I remember, 4,000 rupees. Okay. And as my salary grew, okay, and it grew to what about some couple of lakh of rupees by the time I got out of the corporate career per month, I'm talking about. So when I was earning 4,000 rupees a month, my expenditure was 4,000 rupees a month. When I was earning 2 lakh rupees a month, my expenditure was 2 lakh rupees a month. So, or probably more. Okay, at any point in time, my expenditure somehow was always more than what I was earning. So yeah, what about, and nothing has changed that way. I mean, for me now, I've kind of, you can say, I've straightened up. I've learned a lot. Okay, in the last few years, in terms of money management, personal finance. The first 10, 15 years of my corporate life was a financial disaster. I took debts. I got into a deep debt trap. Deep
How,
debt trap.
how much was it, Milind?
So it was, I remember 2009 when I actually made the switch from corporate life to self-employment. It had reached 25 lakhs. And I'm talking about unsecured loans. We are not talking about a house, okay, which is a secured loan. I'm talking about 2 car loans, 3 credit cards, 3 personal loans, totaling to an EMI of about 1 lakh per month. So these are just EMIs, and basically all of it is just interest and some principal, and it's not like it's all just consumption. Okay, it's not like I have some real asset getting built or some business which is getting built by paying that. It is just basically interest and interest on interest and interest on interest and interest. That's how it had all piled up. They say no, the chakra view. I was
Yes.
like a real, and I had really created a mess of my financial life. Classic
Why did
example.
it happen? Like, why were you
I, you know,
taking on financial debts on and on?
so it. I'll give you an example. Okay, people still do it. I see that. I see some of my clients do it. See, you take one. Let's say you start with a credit card. Okay, you have a credit limit of 1 lakh. You use up that entire credit limit. Okay? You have no personal loans, no other credit cards. Now you're stuck with that. How do I pay this? You can't. You don't have any more limit available. You're struggling to pay the minimum balance also on that credit card. So you end up taking a personal loan. Okay, you take a personal loan of 1 lakh to pay that credit card. So you pay off that credit card of 1 lakh. Now suddenly the credit card outstanding is 0, and you have a personal loan. Okay, jiska EMI has started now, right? Some monthly EMI has started. 2-year EMI, but your credit card is fully available now. Okay, you should have actually cut the credit card and thrown it away, having learned that lesson. But in my case, I didn't do that. The credit card was still there, and now I have a personal loan. So now the credit card again goes up all the way to 1 lakh. Now, after let's say 6 months, I have a credit card which is maxed out to 1 lakh, and I have a personal loan. Okay, of 1 lakh.
Right.
Now I take a second personal loan, a big one, which closes the earlier personal loan and this credit card. Can we see how it's now compounding?
Yeah,
And plus my salary is
vicious
also
circle.
vicious circle. The salary has also grown. So somebody is approaching me saying, "Sir, now you can take 3 lakhs personal loan." I'm like, "Okay, TK, my EMI burden will come down. I think I have the capability of paying back." And it just goes on and on. I remember my first personal loan EMI was just 3,000 rupees. That's it. And I thought it's very handleable. So, if you don't mind, can I give you a little story here?
Sure.
So this is a story about a frog. Okay. So they say, if you dump a frog in boiling water, no, I know it sounds a little gross. Okay. If you dump a frog in boiling water, the fellow will jump out.
Yeah.
Because he'll feel the heat, no? He'll say, "Boss, this is not very comfortable." He'll just jump out. But if you put a frog in a pot of normal water, not hot water, normal water, the frog will stay there. Then you put the pot on some fire, okay, and then you heat that pot. The frog will enjoy it actually. Slowly,
Correct.
he'll say, "Wow, this is so cool." And then before you realize it, you'll have a cooked frog. The frog will not notice the change that is happening. Okay, it will not jump out. That's exactly what happens to all of us. We don't realize over a period of time how we are getting cooked in terms of our
Right.
finances, in terms of our jobs, okay, how we are ruining sometimes our careers, our
And that's where
relationships.
we go to the comfort zone as well, right?
Yeah,
We just
sometimes
go
our
on and on.
bodies, one day we realize that, array, lockdown was over, and before the lockdown, I was like 2 kilos lighter. How come I'm like 2 kilos heavier now? Okay. I didn't become 2 kilos overweight overnight. No, so we keep getting cooked. That's what happened for me. 15 years, I got cooked and I didn't even realize it. Like that frog.
So in this time period, right, when you were taking on financial debt,
Mhm.
did your anyone in the family, your wife or kids, was saying something to you, and you were just trying to tell them, no, I would handle it, or they were okay, or they didn't knew?
No, so in my case, at least, see what happens is my wife is a housewife. Okay, so she
Uh-huh.
trusted me. She trusted me. She says, "Oh, Milind knows what he's doing, right?" And not just my wife. I think my in-laws, my parents, they all see. You know what happens, Upesh? When you're earning, no, okay, when you're earning, when you have a constant source of income, and when you are secure, then it doesn't feel anything. You just feel, and everybody was okay, saying, okay, he's earning, he's doing well, he's getting promotions, he's talented. Kuch nahi, theek hai, he's got debt. Okay, it's not. There are, of course, there were people who were telling me, don't do this. Okay, so there was my mom especially. She used to alert me time and again. Why are you getting into debt? And I used to not listen to her. I used to like, that hota hai na overconfidence. Okay, there see some people like mom, they will mom no, so she will tell you, okay, she'll do straight talk. Many others, they'll just leave you alone, they'll not bug you, they'll not interfere, they'll just say, okay, he knows what he's doing. Then you don't, you think you're too smart. Okay, and that's what happened with me.
And at any point of time, you didn't feel that stress, that, or you were quite confident that you will handle it somehow?
No, at some point, I think the first time I felt stress was in 2001. Okay, so 2001, I remember I took up a particular, I switched jobs in 2001. I used to switch jobs every 2.5 years on an average. Something for something. And I think, see, you know what happens? I'll come to this in a while. But and this happens with a lot of people. We don't manage our money properly. And then we crib and whine about our employers saying, oh, I'm not getting enough money. Okay. And then that becomes an excuse to leave the company. That's what used to happen with me also. So, like every 2.5 years, I used to leave for want of better pay. Okay, so I remember that time also, I switched to a particular company saying that I need more income. This is not enough, and I joined this particular company. And this 2001, there was a recession, fairly big recession that time.
Right. Yeah.
And I joined this company, and within I think 3 months of joining the company, there was this announcement, company-wide announcement, that everybody will get a 10% pay cut. And for me, even a 10% pay cut completely set me back. That is the first time I really felt the heat. Because, suddenly I started falling back on, falling short of whatever I was earning, and I started defaulting on EMIs. Till then it was fine. And then, I started becoming desperate. From then on, it was all about playing catch up all the time. So stress was there. Stress was there, and then all the time. Then I need a better job. I need a bigger promotion. Financial stress was, of course, it was there. It was that the only difference was that I was not showing it. I used to live with a mask, saying, "Nahi, nahi, kuch nahi. I can handle it." But the thing is, when the heat really gets to you, then see, like in my case, in 2009, eventually, when I couldn't take this corporate world anymore, and especially that the bigger recession happened in 2008, the subprime crisis, when job security wasn't there anymore, then what do you do? Right? It's all well till it's all well. Then what?
Right.
Right? So it's very scary, this whole trap we get ourselves into.
Right. And but I think what Milind, you are saying is, since you are switching jobs as well, so from the financial perspective, you are still trying to catch up there.
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, since you were changing the jobs, you never came to a situation where you were quite tied up in your comfort zone. So now brings me to the time which you just mentioned during the recession of 2009.
Okay.
Now, at that point of time, you were approaching around 40 years in your age.
Yeah, I was, I think, 38. Yeah, I was
Right.
38.
And from the right, and you had quite high profile jobs,
Yes.
and I believe that might be, and since anyways you all had financial issues and other stress as well, I believe that 2009 time frame when you were laid off,
Hmm.
that might be the lowest point of your life. So I wanted to hear that story from you
Okay.
about that day when this news was broken to you by your boss,
Okay. Okay.
and how did your family react on this, and those 15 days or 20 days right after this happened, what was all going through your mind? Can you share
Okay.
me that
Okay.
story?
Okay. So I'll tell you, it's a little different. Little different. And so I usually, even on my website, I've written that I was laid off. Okay. But technically, it was a little different. So I'll tell you exactly what happened. December 2008. So I was working in a real estate company. My last 2 years, so 13 years, I was in an ad industry, and then the last 2 years of my corporate life, I was in a real estate. I was vice president, sales, marketing, and business development of a real estate company. Now, December 2008 to February 2009, we didn't get salaries, right? Because of this whole recession, the subprime real estate was affected worldwide. We were just not getting salaries. Nobody was getting salaries, and I was already, I was one of their more expensive employees. So they didn't have cash. They had a lot of land, but no cash. I I was frustrated because I had bills to pay, EMIs to pay, and I was borrowing. I had already depleted all my savings. Actually, I don't think I had started borrowing then, and it wasn't. They hadn't laid me off technically. I still remember I was driving from home to office, and I was stuck in a traffic jam that particular day, halfway to office, and I called up my wife and I said, Seema, I'm putting in my papers today. She said she wasn't surprised actually because she had seen me do this before, quitting my job without having a job in hand. So she said, Karega kya? What will you do? I said, I'll empower people. She said, but is that how you'll earn money? I said, I guess so, right? But she said, exactly what will you do? I said, I have no idea what I'll do. So my confidence was actually at a high that time. It dipped, it went to a low a little later by 2011, 12. But at 2009, I was like, bindas, I can do it. Okay, anyway, they're not paying me salaries. So I got out of the traffic jam, went to office, and I told them, anyway, you're not paying me salaries. You might as well tell me on my face, no? You guys are laying me off. So I put in my papers. In any case, the next month, Rupesh, they laid off everybody, all the VPs. Right? So that's how it is. So then I tell myself, why am I lying to myself that I was not laid off? It was as good as a layoff, right? So they're not paying me salary. So after that, yeah, it was very shaky. My wife was, of course, those 15, 20 days, the first few months, when it really sank in, how are we going to manage? Are you sure? Right? And why don't you get another job now? That was the first reaction. Which wife will not have that reaction? She was always a housewife. And I said, I'm not going to get another job. I don't want another job. I'm going to be self-employed. I'm going to follow my dream. And she said, but Milind, we have 25 lakhs of debt. We have so many EMIs to pay every month, right? And we do hardly have any savings right now. I said, yeah, I know, but when will we pay off the debt? When will we start off? When will I start off on my own? I don't know. So I was completely unreasonable, and I'm not suggesting that this is what people do, but I had nerves of steel that time. That time, that really helped me. And I said, I don't care but I'm going to start off on my own. And I started off on my own. And it took me about a few months before I started, making some decent money and at least started paying off these debts and stuff like that. But the first few months were zero income, zero.
So, yeah, Milind, so that's where I want to know. The same question came to my mind, which your wife had asked that time. You had two options that time,
Yes.
because you had financial liabilities to take care of, which were debts. At the same time, you need the operational income to run the expenses at home. Your kids might be in school,
Yes.
and all these things were there.
Mhm.
So, for any person in this situation, they would think the first and the most natural option is to take quickly another job,
Yes.
and meanwhile do something whenever you get time, and then slowly plan the transition out. But you chose the other way, where you said, no, I want to stop this, take life in my own hands,
Yes.
control it and do whatever it takes to convert this challenge into an opportunity and transform the life.
Yeah.
So, doing something of your own already there in your mind before as well when you're in your job, which made this will stronger,
Yes.
or what was the supporting
Okay,
factor?
I'll tell you. So this happened all in February 2009. First March 2009, I was on my own. But a year before that, so about 1 year before that, all these thoughts had already started creeping in my head that I don't want to spend the rest of my life as a corporate slave. I already started seeing it that way, that enough of this. Hota hai na, we use in Hindi, they use the word pag gaya, okay? Fed up of the corporate world. So I'd reached that point, and it wasn't just a frustration with the corporate world. It was also that that mental makeup was extremely strong for me, right? I had my own mentors that time. I had had some amount of I had a coach myself, okay, that time. So I had read a lot of books. I had really worked on myself. I had become so strong that I believed in myself. And so, yeah, you're right. Many people would have taken the other option, saying, no, let me take some job and let me, follow my dream on the side and all that. And I said, that's what many people will do, okay? And I said, no, I will not do what many people do because I know I have the firepower. I can switch my job, okay? It might be a little uncomfortable for me and for my family members initially. And I know I put myself first and I put my family second. And I said, I don't want to miss the bus. I don't want to, I don't want to take the road which everybody is taking. I want to do something totally different. And it's okay. If I'm going to face obstacles, I have the firepower within me to overcome these obstacles. And I faced a whole lot of obstacles. And it was okay. And that made me even more stronger. And it was tough, no doubt about it. It was tough. But it was full of experiences.
I think you were quite confident about yourself,
Yes.
and you had a very high self-esteem about yourself,
True.
which actually enabled you to take that decision as well and go forward from there.
Yes.
Wonderful, Milind.
Yes.
So, Milind, that brings me to the next question. So now you are at your lowest point in your life where everything is screwed up, right? Now you are trying to do something in a territory which you are not even sure what will it be. So can you share your journey? How did you overcome all these challenges?
Got it.
And what all things happened over the period of time? What all things you tried?
Okay.
And how you can overcome those challenges?
So 2009, like I told you, I started March 2009. It all started with a lot of confidence, but as the months passed, 1 month of no income, 2 months of no income, 4 months of no income, how disillusion starts setting in, stress starts. So, like you said, I started with very high self-esteem and extremely high confidence. And after 6 months, the whole, tire is punctured. Okay. I'd started making money by then, but by then some debts had increased even more. So, 25 lakhs had increased.
How were you making money during
So,
that time?
I'll tell you. So, life coaching came in 2012. But when I started doing corporate training. In fact, even before corporate training, I started doing some public training programs. I used to hire a hall, I used to market my programs online, and I used to say, okay, pay 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees per day, and there's this seminar, full day seminar, and those kind of things. So that's how, which was peanuts actually. But then through a couple of those programs, I got some consultancy assignments. And then I got some corporate training assignments. So I don't want to get into the details of that, but net between 2009 and 2012, it was a series of public training programs, motivational speaking programs, corporate training, business consultancy, brand consultancy. I used to even create PowerPoint presentations for anybody who wanted a PowerPoint presentation. You want me to, because I was very good at making PowerPoint presentations. So even something as small as, okay, you'll give me your PowerPoint presentation, give me 5,000 rupees, I'll jazz it up. It used to take me like half a day or 1 day to do it. Okay. So anything and everything I was willing to do for money. So you ask me what all
But at that time, yeah, but sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt, but that time social media was not at that level, which is
absolutely,
it's how it is today, right?
absolutely.
So how you used to get your customers,
So
because you are just starting
yeah,
out.
so it was just word of mouth. It was just networking. I know somebody who knows somebody. It was just totally offline. See, one thing I always that really worked for me. I really believe in this philosophy of go giver. It's called the go giver. It's based on a book actually called Go Giver. So in this philosophy, you give before you get. So I made it a point to be connected with a whole lot of people. I networked with a whole lot of people, not with the intention of getting something from those people, but with an intention of giving something to those people. So there were hundreds of people who I used to be in touch with saying, "What can I do for you?" I used to send sometimes daily SMSs, empowering SMSs. I used to send some tidbits of marketing information. And so people, I position myself, okay, as this is who I am, and I really focused on serving people, and people started knowing me. That time they still didn't know me as a coach, but they started knowing me as a okay. He's a trainer, he's a consultant, and the word spread. In my I was in Chennai that time. All those markets. So that's how it was. It was no social media. But when you are a giver, they say givers attract. You give, you magnetize yourself. Forget, in fact, when people say, Milind, I don't have money to do a 2-year MBA. Okay. I say, okay, just remember these two words. Givers attract. You give, right? You will attract. Okay. You can build a whole business just on the basis of these two words. Givers attract. You give and you are in business. That's what I remember one particular company, one particular person came for one of my training programs, and he said, will you be my consultant for my company? I said, sure. From that one person and his group companies, I made something like 42 lakhs in 3 years, working 3 hours a day from home. Just on nothing. He knew somebody who knew somebody and stuff like that.
Amazing. I think that go giver philosophy is first you add value to someone and then they will pay you for that. Add value to
Yes,
people. That's the main crux of it.
yes. So it was that's what happened. And the thing is, Rupesh, I used to travel around the world doing corporate training programs, and at some point in time, I realized that it's not as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. And in 2012, I discovered that there's something called life coaching. Life coaching at that time, like I said, was not very prevalent in India. So corporate coaching was prevalent. A lot of corporates, they used to hire coaches for their CEOs and their VPs. That culture had already existed. Fortune 500 companies, even big companies, not just Fortune 500 companies, big private companies, MNCs had the coaching culture. But individuals, IT professionals, self-employed professionals, or small business owners, nobody had this. People knew psychiatrists and all that were there. But to go to a course to deal with life's problems, that was not a concept people were familiar with. But that was a very popular concept in the West. And I said, yeah, why is that not there in India? And I was not very keen on serving the corporate world. I was more inclined in touching people's lives at an individual level. So I said, if I keep my fees low, okay, because otherwise corporate coaching is very expensive. So typical corporate coach can charge anywhere between 10 and 20,000 per hour, one session. Okay. And I said, no, I don't want to charge that kind of money. I don't want CEOs as my clients. I just want, somebody who's a 30, 35-year-old professional is good enough as a client. And let me build. That was my dream. Let me serve people from every walks of life, and let's see if this works. And I believed it will work. And that's how I got myself certified as a life coach 2012, and the journey began. 2012 to 2014, I struggled, okay, because the market was so nascent. Who knew coaching? Today, a lot of people today, the coaching industry is really booming. There are still people who say, I don't know what is a life coach, but it is way better than what it was in 2012, 2013, 2014. But after 2000, I remember July 2014, it just took off. My business, 2014, 2015. It just took off and it's never looked back. And because I was one of the earliest coaches in India, I have way more experience than most other coaches, and that way Google has really rewarded me. So if you search for life coach in India, I usually show up in the top 3 results. Now, if you ask me, 6 days a week, 6 times a day, I only do coaching. I don't even have time for corporate training or executive coaching. So the market has changed completely now. So there's, it's still not very easy for, a new entrant to get into coaching and get business. The market is not that big. It's like, you have a stomach ache, you have a ear pain, you go to a doctor. Okay, people know. But by and large, when people are dealing with stress and relationships, they try and fix their problems on their own. They don't naturally go to a coach like how they go to a coach in the West. So that way, we're still, it's very, very nascent stages where it is. But it was only after 2014-15 that my journey has really taken off. But till then, it was a struggle of a massive struggle. If you were, in fact, I think the height of the struggle was at one point in time, multiple times I ran out of money. I don't know whether I've mentioned on my website. I've shared so many times with my clients. My wife had to sell all her jewelry for me to become a coach, and I'm so grateful to her for that. There's a whole lot of my family members who lent money to me, so that I could become a coach. There is, in me becoming a coach, the whole universe supported me. I had to, because I didn't give up on my dream.
Right. And because you had that determination.
Yeah.
And people could see that, and that's where you said, right? You give and you'll get back.
Yes.
So by when you were able to clear your financial debt?
So it was, I think only in October 2016 that I paid off the last of the debts to the banks. But from 2009 to 2016, even throughout my struggling days, on one hand, I was trying to make my life work, trying to figure out, how to earn money. And you see, unlike a job where it's a very fixed monthly income, there's a security, right? 30th of the month, salary will come. Here in self-employment, every month is one question mark. Like we are in June right now. I don't know where my June income is going to come. I have no clue. So that's how, in fact, I think it is my 134th month without a salary, if I count correctly. 134th month. So throughout that journey, even till the time I have completely cleared off my debt, it was always, every month was uncertain. Okay, earn money, pay off the debt. Earn money, pay off the debt. There are times when there's no money to pay the debt. So many times I had to just tell the collection agents, saying, I don't have the money. I'm so sorry, I don't have the money, but trust me. Right? So many of these collection managers became my friends because they believed in me. I got them to believe in me. A lot of my communication skills, which I sharpened, which I coach people on today, right? How to have powerful communication skills. They developed because of the way I used to communicate. I used to influence these collection managers. These guys used to, I'm not bragging here, these guys used to fall in love with me because it was all about authenticity. They used to know I'm not faking. To believe that if sir says 7th, then he will pay it on 7th. Otherwise, he will not say, just for the sake of 7. And same thing with my landlord, I remember, Rupesh. Okay. For almost 10 years, I stayed in that particular house in Chennai. And almost out of those 10 years, for almost 5 years, I struggled to pay his rent. And I used to write to him, I'm so sorry. So sorry, this month I don't have money to pay you. Please don't kick me out of the house. And he used to say, I understand, beta. And I used to pay him. Every 3 months, whenever I had money, I used to pay him. But communication plays a huge role in whatever goal you want to achieve in life. Whether it's collection agents or landlords or relatives, you need people. You can't do all this alone. You need support. You need people on your side. People think, everything is about you. It's not about you. It's about you. You cannot do everything on your own. So the journey was, I can write probably a 3-volume book on this. It was so intense.
Right. The way you were at your lowest point and the way you picked up having the nerves of steel and building your relationships and giving value, right? Being a go-giver and then taking it forward and finally clearing your debt in around 2016. And after that, I think life has been quite okay for you and things are progressing in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah. So Milind, I wanted to take a small use case right now. Let's
Okay.
consider a fictional character called Vinod.
Okay.
And today he's at his midlife
Okay.
in his 30s or early 40s.
Okay.
And his growth is stagnant. Okay. His career growth is quite
Okay.
stagnant.
Okay.
He is stressed with financial issues as well as relationships. And his mind is cluttered with these issues and he is getting frustrated. So, what will be the sequence of steps you would recommend in this situation so that he can come out
Okay.
and live life more fulfilled?
Okay. The first thing I would probably ask Vinod. Okay. In fact, Rupesh, just imagine you are Vinod. Let's do a role play. Can we do that?
We can. Yeah.
Yeah. Just imagine you are Vinod. So I'm going to, so what I'm going to say, Vinod, the first thing you got to ask yourself is, you say you are in, a lot of financial stress. So what is financial stress can mean different things to different people. So if you are under a lot of debt, the the first thing is to, how long is it going to take me to clear off that debt? So the debt, because the debt can otherwise be such a huge, because I've been through this whole debt thing, it can be such a big pressure point. Be clear about how many months is it going to take, how much surplus do I have every month, how can I cut down my lifestyle in order to pay off this debt, okay, with my current job. So I never usually recommend to people that they should do what I did, which is just dump the job and just jump into some self-employment. The first thing is to take an assessment of your money situation straight away. What's your monthly income? What's your monthly expenses? How can you cut down on your monthly expenses? How long will it take to pay off your debt? Okay, create a game plan for paying off your debt. That is on one side. The second, having said that, it always helps, even if you're not really immediately quitting your job. Okay, frustration usually sets in, Rupesh, when we are not clear about the future. We feel hopeless about the future. So the second step was to draft an exciting future for yourself. Get some clarity about what you really want in life. First of all, do you want to be an employee or do you not want to be an employee? Do you want to do a job or do you not want to do a job? If you want to do a job, then do you want to do, what kind of a job? Do you want to be in the same domain that you are or in a different domain? Do you want to be in the same industry or a different industry? Okay, in the whole job thing. Is it higher responsibilities are you looking for? What is it that you are looking for? If you say, no, I don't want to do a job, I want to be on my own. If you want to be on your own, then do you want to be self-employed or do you want to do business? Because there's a difference between self-employment and business. Self-employment means you are totally on your own, whereas business is completely different. Business means you have to have people, you have to have systems, and you need to have probably capital, maybe not your own money, but somebody else's money. In self-employment, your self-employment, like what I am doing right now, you don't need capital, you just need some ideas. You need an attitude. That's all it takes, actually. Business is a different ball game altogether. Those are things you need to be clear about. What is driving you? What do you want? You want what do you value? That is another thing. You want security. See, these are the questions. I'm not giving you steps here. Okay, I'm just offhand. What I'm saying is, if you can just answer some of these questions, you will get a whole lot of clarity. So, do you value security? Do you value freedom? What do you lack in life? Or you can't say both. Okay, you got to choose between the two. Or do you value neither of them, and what you really want to do is make an impact and want to really get into the game of wealth creation? What do you want to live on this planet for? Once you start getting into all those questions, then you can really get into a larger question, which is, when people say, no, what is my purpose in life? What am I doing here? Okay, that question which I asked just now, my purpose in life. So the question the way I phrase it is, see, the world is full of problems. Okay, even when you are doing a job, you're getting paid to solve a particular problem. And when we say, I don't know my purpose, I don't know my passion, and I tell people, forget your passion. Okay, It's not about purpose and passion. Just ask yourself, what kind of, earthly or worldly problem do you want to solve for people? Like in my case, I want to empower people, okay, in some way or the other. Coaching is just a means, just one way which I can empower people. Some trainer might do it in some other way, some public speaker might do it in his own way. So, what is the problem that you want to solve? So, some people don't get healthy food to eat. Is that a problem you want to solve? That there's no easy availability of healthy food or organic vegetables. Is that the problem you want to solve? Some other problem you want to solve? You got to ask yourself, what is the problem that that exists in this universe, in your society, okay, in the community that you live in, that you care for, and you will get paid for that, for solving that problem. You will get paid in 3 months, 6 months time. You will get paid for that. So you got to ask yourself that. So, but you got to step out there. You can't be sitting in your house, or lockdown or no lockdown. You got to step out and ask yourself, how can I serve? How can I make my life worthwhile? What kind of problem exists which I can be committed to, which is worthy of my life? So once you start thinking of those kind of big problems, your existing day-to-day problems start disappearing. They start looking minuscule and minute and petty and crummy in comparison. That's how it all works. So yeah, I know. See, there for different people, the steps will be different. Okay, but the questions are more or less the same. These are the questions that usually one has to answer. One has to confront. If one is all jumbled up, or like this. And another big question, if I were to add over here, Rupesh, which is all part of the coaching, right? This is in a way just a trailer of what we kind of discuss in coaching. In what way am I bluffing myself? It's a very, very confrontational question. In what way am I lying to myself? Often we play games with ourselves. We are not straight with ourselves. Once we start becoming straight with ourselves, a whole lot of things start falling in place. In fact, this one question can change everything. The last one which I just shared.
Amazing. Well, I think the key is to introspect yourself, because only you can help yourself. People will be there to support you, but unless you introspect, ask the strong questions to your own self, only then you can take actions and people will be there to support you.
Yes, yes.
Thanks a lot, Milind. I think that brings us to the last segment of the show, which I call as a quick fire segment. So I will throw some bullets at you, and you need to respond back to them by answering it in a minute or so.
Okay.
So first question, Milind, is what is that daily ritual and routine you follow that keeps you ahead of the game?
So I put an alarm for 5 a.m. and I don't wake up at 5 a.m. I wake up before 5 a.m. usually. Right? So every time I hear the birds chirping, or even before that, I just sense it. So I wake up anywhere between 3:30 and 5. So that's the first thing in my daily ritual. I wake up early, and that is probably the most powerful ritual. So I have a very what is called a contrarian ritual. I start my day that way, and after that it's all about doing doing uncomfortable things first, things which are absolutely uncomfortable. That forms part of my routine, and then what people usually do in the morning, I do in the afternoon when most of my coaching calls are over, most of my work is over. So that is the single biggest thing that makes me super productive compared to everybody else.
Second question, Milind, who is that famous personality whom you follow the most and why?
So I follow a lot of them. Okay, no. I mean, the one who really inspires me is Tony Robbins. Okay, is there anybody else? I can't think of too many other people. But yeah, there is Tony Robbins. I mean, right from day one, from the time he was a youngster, I still remember the time he was walking on fire. He went for a fire walking show, okay, where he was told to walk on fire. He walked on fire and he said, "Oh wow, I actually walked on fire." And he said, "Hey, if I could walk on fire, I can also conduct fire walking shows." And after that, he never looked back. Okay, and it is his. So he never got formal training in coaching or in training or coaching. He's a self-made man. He is the person who I admire the most.
The last question is, when you are down and feeling quite stressed out, What is that stress buster that cheers you up and make you roar again?
It is one simple word: gratitude. Right?
Wow.
Simple gratitude. Nothing comes remotely close. And the stress, no, is just the stress always comes from a feeling of I don't have this or I don't have that. Okay, that it comes from unmet expectations. We are always attaching too much significance to what we don't have. When you switch that state from I don't have this to oh, I'm so grateful I have that. So I have on my phone I have a list. On Google Chrome, my homepage is full of 3 lists, gratitude lists. Okay, everything. See, I told you I work from home. I don't even commute. There's a lockdown. I have not got affected at all. My business is booming in the lockdown. So everything. I'm so grateful for everything right from the time I'm alive, from the my heart and my family and my clients and everything. Even if I'm in a stressful state, and it's not like I don't get into a stressful state. It's a matter of minutes, less than an hour, less than 30 minutes takes me to come out of that and just be grateful, and be absolutely relaxed. Just gratitude. I'm so grateful that you cannot be stressed out and grateful at the same time. It's impossible.
Wow. Till now, I have not applied this when I was stressed out. I'll surely apply it. So, Milind, if someone wants to reach out to you, how they can do
Yeah.
that?
So simple. Just go to my website. You can either just Google Milind Jadhav, or very often, whether you get my spelling right or not, if you usually search life coach in India, you'll find my name. Okay, my website milindjadhav.com, and all my details are there. My phone number. You can book complimentary. I usually give a 45-minute complimentary session with anybody. Okay, then they can always decide if they want to work with me further. So that's how it is. That website is my digital home.
Wonderful, Milind. I will also mention the website name in the show notes so people can find you easily.
Sure.
That brings us to the end of the show, Milind. Thanks a lot
Sure.
for sharing your wisdom, your life journey. It surely has been a roller coaster with lots of ups and downs for you. I think, but the way you have transformed your life by maintaining that positive attitude towards the challenges, I'm sure it will inspire and be of immense benefit to me as well as all the listeners of the show.
I'm really hoping so, and I don't regret. If I were to just add a few things here, Rupesh, I don't regret my journey at all. Or a whole lot of things. What I sometimes say, the nonsense that happened. It's not really nonsense. Okay, my journey happened the way it happened, so that so many people could learn from it. So I'll be very happy if people can take something from this and transform their lives, make their lives useful. And I keep saying, yeah, don't make the same mistakes I made. Make fresh mistakes. Okay? Make new mistakes. Life is all about making mistakes. But why you want to make the same mistake that I made? So it was so wonderful being on your show. I mean, it took me down memory lane. So wonderful sharing my experience. Thank you so much, Rupesh.
Thank you for tuning in onto today's show. To summarize, my key takeaways from the show were: never land yourself in huge financial debts, because it soon becomes a vicious cycle. To clear one debt, you take another one, and this process continues, which quickly becomes a bubble so huge that it takes you many steps behind from reaching your destination. If you don't enjoy what you do today, try to introspect and ask yourself some tough questions. Do you want to be an employee or employer? What you value more, security or freedom? What do you lack in life? Are you just bluffing or playing game with yourself? I hope you enjoyed listening to the show. If you liked what you heard, then do subscribe, rate and review the show on Apple Podcast or Google Podcast or any podcasting platform you listen to. And if you feel the information will help someone, please don't forget to share it with them through various social media channels like Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. You can access the show notes for the show by accessing www.themidlifestation.com/2. I will see you back next week with another show. Until then, please move forward, and take some action.